Welcome to I See You, a podcast where we know that human connection restores mental health and resilience. I'm your host, Julie De Jesus, and I See You. Let's be friends. Welcome everyone to the I See You podcast. We are here to have conversations all about how human connection is truly what our world needs today to restore mental health and resilience. And I'm excited to have a dear friend of mine on, Jessica Rhoton.
Thanks for having me.
I feel dumb because I said a dear friend and then I was like, you do say it Rhoton, right?
Yeah, you said
I just said it right. Okay.
We hear everything though. It wouldn't surprise me. We get Rhoton,
Rhoton.
Rhoton. That's a common one.
So that was what I was wondering with. I'm like, surely it can't be that. I've always said
yes.
Rhoton, but I think
you got
it feels different when you say it over a mic. All of a sudden you're like, I should say this correctly for sure.
No, you nailed it.
Jessica, thanks for coming on I See You today, first of all.
Absolutely.
In our world today, do you ever feel like real, authentic human connection is becoming less of a certainty and more of an anomaly? Well, good news. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm Julie De Jesus. I'm a keynote speaker, an author, and a corporate trainer. I speak all over the country about how to utilize human connection to improve mental health, resilience, and even work performance. If you know a group looking for a speaker, you can contact me at julie-dejesus.com. We met living in the same neighborhood. We've played some pickleball. You are far more superior because you freaking played tennis growing up, which is unfair. And it's
you have me sweating, I will say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's taken a long time to get there. So no, it's been a good time. But interestingly enough, the whole reason you're on the podcast is a conversation we had playing pickleball. Yeah. As we've gotten to know each other, we have quite a bit in common. Just in the way we think about things and different experiences. Will you start by sharing just a little bit about yourself and then let's get to talk about postpartum a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I grew up in Idaho and I was raised in a family that was like the epitome of picture perfect on the outside, and on the inside, it was not that way. But I don't think I realized that until a little bit later on in my life. And so growing up, I knew there was a lot of contention in my home. And so towards like my high school years, I did what I can to just not be in the home. And so I hung out with my friends a lot and my high school boyfriend, and we actually got married. We're high school sweethearts. And yeah, so now we have 2 kids and we're just here in Utah now. I told myself I would literally never move to Utah.
Because it's the worst.
It's the worst. And I'm obsessed with it now. So
and you're here now. Yeah.
But so that's a little bit about us.
Very cool. Yes. And Caleb, that's right. You guys are high school. You've been together for
He was middle school. So
shut up.
Yeah. I was high school. He was middle school.
Wait, are you serious right now? How far apart in age are you?
We're only 8 months, but like I act like.
How is he you're high school and he's middle school?
So yeah, his birthday is January 6th of 2020. And I am April in 99.
Okay, is middle school different than middle school here? Like,
yes. Sorry.
Is middle school junior high there?
Yeah. So
middle
school. Yeah. So I'm
this
not that big of
a really
cougar.
illegal for a second. I was like, whoa, back up. Let's unpack that.
He was in 8th grade and I was a freshman.
Okay.
But that's our middle school, high school in Idaho.
No one called the cops. Okay.
We're safe.
I'm like 8 months. How does Idaho do things? Like, what
I held back.
The rules? Like we're cousins, it's fine. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, that's very fun and funny. I know you have had quite a journey struggling with postpartum depression.
Yes.
After you have 2 babies.
Yes.
They're so cute.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And tell me about that experience.
Yeah. So becoming a mom was always, always, always my lifelong dream. I always wanted to become a mom and I was so excited for it. But because I had just gotten married, I was also so excited for the life that I was going to build with my husband. And there wasn't much time before I was a mom and from when I got married. My IUD failed. And so I have an IUD baby and just a little.
Can we ask which IUD?
Yeah. It was the non-hormonal one.
Copper?
And yeah, it was the copper one.
I hear that happens most with copper. Pro tip.
The 0.1%. And so lucky
You're so
me.
special.
I'm so lucky.
Dude, she is so freaking cute though.
She's worth it. She's worth it.
She's so cute. But amazing. Holy cow, that's scary.
Terrifying.
I would imagine. Terrifying. Because how old were you?
I was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And been married.
I had been married for 2.5 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's a lot.
Wild. So lots of tears. Then they were happy tears, but sad tears for sure. But so yeah, just a little backstory on like my idea of what I was going to be as a mom. I grew up kind of like what I was saying in this family who on the outside seemed super picture perfect. And my mom was known, like everybody who knew her would always say like, your mom has a free ticket to heaven. Like your mom has sacrificed more than anybody I ever knew. And it was true. My mom literally did everything for every single person except herself. And I loved that growing up. I was grateful for that growing up. But there was a lot of pressure now becoming a mom because I knew that I was going to have to fill that role. And that was terrifying. And so when I found out I was pregnant, there was fear, but there was joy. But I think the fear came from not like having this baby, but this fear came from I'm about to give up who I am. And that's expected of me because a label that my mom was given, like you are a good mom because of what you sacrificed. You're a great mom because you lost who you were and you did that for your family. And so that was a lot of pressure on me. And not to mention that year was insane. That was 2020. So that was COVID. And I also had just gotten married. My husband had just gotten a crazy demanding job. We were super poor. And so he was working from sunup to sundown. And that was the first time in my life that I started to get anxiety attacks. They were super foreign to me. And I didn't really know anybody who had those. And so I think just my whole pregnancy there was a lot of things going on that I wasn't able to talk to anybody about because one, I didn't know who to talk to and I didn't really know what I was really experiencing. But yeah, tons of stuff happened during pregnancy. My family picked up from Idaho and moved to Georgia and gave us like a 2-week notice. And so there was like a sense of an abandonment. And so I really felt alone when I was pregnant and not really knowing like how I was about to be a mom. And it was really scary. And so, yeah, the time came and my delivery was horrible. My doctor was the one doctor I requested not to have. And it just, honestly, it probably wasn't as horrible as what I thought it was, but I was a first-time mom. I didn't know what to expect. I thought, we're going to go in, get an epidural, we're going to have a baby,
you
we're
just
going to go home.
And baby's out.
Exactly. And so I think I was just super naive to what my reality was about to become.
Yeah.
And I went in and I got induced and I didn't know any of the medications that they were telling me to. I just kind of trusted like, hey, you do you, like, I'm just here, like, you know best. And so
yeah, I
didn't have a say, but I also didn't really fight to have a say or know how to fight to have a say.
For sure.
And so when I got in to get induced, I didn't have my baby till 3 days later. So I was in the hospital for that long because a lot of the medications that they were using weren't working on me. So I just remember feeling alone and terrified and not really knowing how to like advocate for myself or what that would even look like. But yeah, so there was a moment when they laid my daughter on my chest sorry if I get emotional, where I was so angry. Like I always heard like, this is the moment that every mom waits for. Your daughter is going to be on your chest and you're going to see her and you're going to love her. And I did not get that at all. I remember them putting her on my chest and I just remember feeling so angry and so gypped that this was the person that was going to be taking away everything I loved about myself. And I remember just feeling so mad at the world and not really understanding how people could feel so happy knowing that they're about to be a mom. And this is everything I had ever dreamed of. And it was the scariest moment of my life. And so we go home and my recovery, it started really well. But a week after I had my baby, we were at our newborn photos and I was holding her for one of our poses. And I just remember getting super lightheaded. And I was just like, whoa, Caleb, like, you're going to have to take up. Like, I don't feel good. And my in-laws were standing right in front of us. And I remember I looked down and I'm in a pool of blood. And of course, it would be me to like literally just hemorrhage in front of my father-in-law. We're just like looking at each other. I'm like, hey, super awkward. But I was like, well,
You're like,
I don't
things
know
are about to get real.
Exactly.
Do you know where babies come from?
Exactly. So yeah, super vulnerable. But so my husband, he takes me to the hospital and they run some tests and they do some ultrasounds and they realized I had retained placenta. So not all of that had come out. And because of that, there was a lot of complications. I had to get a DNC and basically restart all of the healing that I had done. And they basically set me back. So instead of just healing from this baby, I was also healing from a surgery in the process. And yeah, I think just like with everything happening, I just hit rock bottom and it was really, really hard. And I just didn't know what to do. Something that was incredibly difficult was breastfeeding for me. Nobody tells you as a mom that breastfeeding, there's like a learning curve and it's hard.
And sometimes it's the literal worst thing in the world.
And that's exactly what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And so I remember, I had gotten mastitis twice.
Oh.
And yeah, I know. Horrible.
It's the worst.
Horrible. But yeah, so I had gotten mastitis twice. And I remember sitting on my couch and my mom came to visit after she was born. So she was sitting on one side and then I had a sister in the area. She was sitting on my other side. And I just remember breaking down. And I remember thinking like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Like I have such a hard time even feeling connected to this person I'm supposed to have immediate absolute love for. And I'm just so angry. And I remember my mom leaning over and she did her very best. She's such a great mom. But I just remember she said, like, Jessica, I know breastfeeding is hard, but you got this. You can do this. Like, there's a learning curve and you can get over it. And like in the nice way, she didn't tell me to get over it, but she told me like, you can get through this. And I remember like, as encouraging as that was, it was probably one of the hardest things to hear. And it's the last thing I wanted to hear because it meant I had to keep going and I just wanted to stop. And I remember being so upset because I wanted to stop breastfeeding because I needed to be on my antidepressants and I wasn't allowed to do that while breastfeeding. And so my sister, I think she kind of saw through that. And so she grabbed the bottle of my antidepressants and she called the number and she's like, we're going to call your doctor and see what your options are. And that was like the first time I think I felt a glimmer of hope that like, well, I didn't even think like there's other options, like enduring and like sacrificing who I am isn't the only option. And so, yeah, that was the first time I felt hope. And shortly after that, I stopped breastfeeding and I got on antidepressants and I started to feel joy again. And it was the first time I allowed myself to think about myself. And as a mom, I feel like that's kind of not something we get to do a lot because we're constantly thinking about our children, and that's a beautiful thing, but it can also be a really hard thing for a mom, especially a new mom. And I remember that experience just kind of allowed my mind to be open to looking at myself more. And it was an internal battle, but every time I decided to like help myself and see myself and listen to what my body was telling me, I noticed it would set me on a path where I'm just so much happier. I'm a better mom. I'm a more present mom. And
how did that impact your daughter, your relationship, your bonding with your daughter?
It impacted it immensely. I remember I had just recently discovered my passion for the gym. I loved it. And it made me so much more energized for her. And I remember when she was about 5 months old, I had just gotten home from the gym and I was rocking her to bed. And I remember for the first time looking at her and being like, oh my gosh, like, I love you. You're awesome. And I'm sad that it took that long, but I also wouldn't take that for anything because it showed me how important I am. And it also showed me how important it is that my daughter has a full present mom who loves herself. And one of the other ways that I was able to see like how I can serve myself was I started counseling, and it was the best thing I ever have done. And I remember my counselor asking me a question. I had probably gotten off of some huge rant, and he knew that I was really angry, because that's what I feel like all of my counseling sessions were just me ranting.
You're just raging.
Literally
just like hulking out.
Exactly. And so he stopped me and he's like, Jessica, why are you so angry? And I thought about it, and it hit me. And I just remember being like, I'm so mad that my mom sacrificed who she was. I'm so angry that that's what she thought she had to do to be a good mom. And I'm so angry that she still feels that way. And I'm so angry that it put a pressure on me to be that mom. And I'm so angry that my daughter is being affected by it now. And I just remember telling him, I think he had asked something along the lines of like, what do you want for your daughter? Or what do you want as a mom? And I remember just saying, I want so badly for my daughter to see me get my hair done. I want so badly for my daughter to see me go to the gym, to take a break if I needed, and go on a girls' trip. Like, those are things that moms sometimes have a hard time doing because they feel like they are taking that away, that time that they could be having like with their kids. But I saw a power that I wish I had as an example in doing that. And it's something I live every day trying to show my kids, is that of course I'm going to sacrifice them, or for them. I'm going to sacrifice for them every day, but I'm also going to sacrifice for myself, because I am just as important in God's eyes as you are in God's eyes. Like, we are both important, and we're on this journey to build a family together, but that has to be a partnership, and a partnership can't happen if one person is absolutely miserable. And so, yeah, I think that's just kind of what I had to teach myself, and I've been insanely happy. And there's times where like I'll get back into that mindset where I need to remember to take care of myself, but it's been super empowering to feel all of the connections that I didn't feel like I was allowed to have. So
thanks for sharing that. I know that knowledge is, you're saying it all in a pretty short amount of time, but I know that took a lot of hours and a lot of days and a lot of fatigue and patience to get there. I relate to a lot of that in becoming a mom and what I thought a mom was supposed to look like. And I relate to the antidepressants and the nursing and all, and just what a hard thing that is, and being in the hospital. And I remember having just being ashamed to saying maybe I need my medicine, and having other people that didn't know what I needed make those decisions for me, and not even knowing what to say, and just being embarrassed of just, I don't want to be that mom. And it's a lot. It's a lot. Who do you feel like, what are things that people did right during that time, that struggle, as you discovered a different way of what it really meant to be the kind of mom you wanted to be for Ev and for your kids? Who saw you in a way that helped you on your journey of really restoring your mental health and resilience?
Yeah, I think the first person to see me was my sister.
Yeah.
Sitting on that couch where she just told me there might be another way. Because I think she saw how hard, she didn't have a kid at that point. And so I think it almost meant more that it's not even that it was like I know how this feels. It was more like, a person shouldn't have to feel this way. There has to be another option. And so I think that was the kickstart. That was probably my first example, but also I wouldn't feel right if I didn't give credit to my husband, who, even though like he may not have been the very first one, but the second I told him, hey, I need this, he supported every second. And there isn't a single time where I'm like, hey, Caleb, I need a break, where he's been like, can't right now. Like, every time he will hear me and trust that what I'm saying is actual fact, and he will do everything in his power to make sure I have that time, and to make sure that I'm taken care of. And I would say another person is honestly my counselor. I always thought counseling was like kind of taboo. I had never experienced it. But just like a way that I just felt so loved was just the amount of validating he did to just make me feel like, hey, like, your struggles are real. Like, you don't have to be ashamed of how you're struggling. You don't have to compare, like, oh, your struggles are not as bad as this person's struggles. He saw my struggles, and he made me feel like every second of crying that I did was so real. And yeah, I think him seeing me and just the amount of times people saw me and supported me really pushed me forward.
It makes such a world of difference. I love that idea just as a takeaway for people that are like, I know someone's struggling. It could be with postpartum. It could be with something else. But I think it's so powerful. You're saying maybe there's another way.
Yeah.
I know for myself, there have been times in my life when someone's done that for me and just said, like, maybe it's not only this option. Because I think so much of the time our mental health struggles when we feel trapped in a corner and we think, like your mom said with the breastfeeding, it's like, if you just keep trying, it's going to get better, when you're already past keep trying. And bless their hearts, they may not know that, but I would guess we have some similarities in how we've talked about this, that I have usually, by the time I'm reaching out for help verbally, you're
gone.
Been trying for quite a while. That it's hard to know what's normal. It's hard to know, am I just not getting, am I just not, like I've just, but to have someone else say to you, like, I have a sister that literally, like, I could almost say word for word what you said. I remember a day when I was trying really hard to not need medication, not need antidepressants. Right. And I remember me saying, but here's the thing, like, my sister Christy, I remember saying to her on the phone, like, as long as I'm cutting out sugar completely, I don't drink any caffeine, I'm exercising, and I'm going to this place to meditate, once a week or a couple, I'm making sure I'm reading my religious studies on par, like I'm doing this. And I just remember her saying to me on the phone, that's a lot to live up to every single day of your life, to just be okay. We're not even saying like I'm like ecstatic, but just to be like, I can go another day as long as I'm perfect and all these things. And I make sure I don't think about anything bad going on in the world, and I don't watch the news, and she just was like, whoa, that is a lot to expect of yourself, to never have a moment to be able to falter from routine, from anything. I just think that's what grace looks like.
Exactly.
Just like human grace, which is not always, but it's hard as the person giving, because I think a lot of our listeners are trying to figure out ways to see others better. It's really hard to know sometimes what all someone's tried and what them reaching out for help or showing up vulnerably means.
Right.
Is this the first time? Is it just gotten a little bit hard and they haven't tried some other things? And that's why I think it's so important to approach these situations with curiosity. Now, your sister, I'm assuming because of the lives you've had together, she probably knows you better than most.
A lot.
And so probably had some insight into where you were at more so, but with like a stranger. And please add to this if you have any advice, having lived it, I think approaching with curiosity rather than a quick judgment, and that you are going to know immediately what they should do with their life is there's a better way, and that's curiosity.
And I think a lot of times, the second somebody sees somebody depressed or anxious, it's like, oh, like, I don't know how to talk. But like, something that helps me when I'm depressed is to talk. And even if it's a stranger seeing like, hey, I don't really know exactly her situation, but like, honestly, even questions of like, hey, dive into this a little bit more. Like, tell me, what have you tried? Tell me, like, where are you at? Like, those questions really help a lot.
When they take away the shame, I think it's like speaking the unspeakable.
Exactly.
We're told we shouldn't talk about this, maybe from an older generation with what worked for them. And there are so many strengths that come from different generations. And I think we would do well to take the best from all of them,
right, and
not judge any of them too harshly. But what are we finding as truth? What works?
I just think having been the person that is struggling internally and expects a lot of themselves and doesn't know how to quit, and that's okay. Having been that person, once again, for someone to sit across and be like, I see you.
Yeah.
And I'm not leaving. I'm good. We're here, is life changing and truly like life saving. And so I guess I don't know about you, but like having had the experiences I've had, I've come to the conclusion that I'd rather someone be annoyed that I was too nosy or too real than have them feel like they're alone, because I know what that feels like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Has there been like a mantra or something that's helped you in your life as you've navigated this, and as you still, have your little blips, of course?
Yeah. I think honestly, I was thinking about this last night. It's something you hear every time you take a flight. Like anytime you're on a plane, they always tell you, put your oxygen mask on and then help your partner. And I think throughout this experience, I understood the gravity of that, because you're thinking like, oh, no, of course I'm putting my kids on first. But if something were to happen to you, your kids are reliant on you. You need to be saved in order to be present for your children. And so, I think help yourself and know that that's okay. It's okay to need help. It's okay to have joy. I really don't think this life is meant to endure and tough and gruff and just be miserable. I think it really is to have joy. And of course there's sacrifices that come. Of course there's hardships that come. But when we realize that our experiences and that like our roles as mothers are not just so daunting, they don't have to be. Of course there's going to be moments, but it doesn't have to be as much pressure as we put on ourselves. I'm pretty religious, and something taught in the Bible that I would love to like understand even more, and something that I'm just touching on now and I'm loving, is the fact that it says that Jesus Christ is the last blood sacrifice. And I think so many moms, including my own, put that sacrifice that was already given on themselves for their children. And it's a sacrifice that is full of love, but it's great. It's an amazing sacrifice that carried on this wonderful plan, but it's already been done and it's not needed anymore. It was the last one. And of course we'd sacrifice ourselves for our children, but that's not going to be asked of us. And to just understand that God has already paid that price, and he did that so that we can have joy and so that we can experience these things with our children instead of miss out on such amazing opportunities because we're so worried about what our children might miss out on, what we're not doing enough of, and all of these things.
And I think especially coming into play, something that you and I have related on is, I think especially when you felt neglect as a child, there's also a spin on, I want to make sure to do this right. I want to be the parent I feel like I needed. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot too. I would guess that plays somewhat of a part in having the disruptive home you had, as you've mentioned. What, if someone's in that place, if someone's, let's just say postpartum, or hopefully listeners can adjust to whatever. Suffering is suffering is suffering. It has different colors to it, different labels and things, but just being desperate for help and wondering if it's ever going to come is a universal feeling that can happen to anyone depending on their life circumstance. What's like a simple takeaway of something they can do today that you feel like could be really impactful for them?
It's a good question. I think maybe, I don't know, this is me just winging the question, so I might listen back and think this is a horrible answer. But just like the first thing that popped in my head is put yourself in your children's shoes. Do you think, or whatever situation you might be going through, whoever you're struggling to please, whoever you're fighting for to see you, put yourself in their shoes and almost ask yourself, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Like, is
You're
it really
gonna edit
what
all of this out?
No, but like, are you required
Like, it's not
to put in the expectations for them to love you and feel like you're a good mom
Yeah.
that you're putting on yourself?
Yeah.
Am I reading that right?
Yeah. You absolutely are.
I think also what you're saying, I know I've had to work on this, is not projecting like your fears on your children.
Exactly. I would say that's a huge part of it. A huge part of it.
I feel like this is important to say there. So on icliving.com, we actually are starting a women's group for women looking for more connection, needing to feel seen. Obviously today is super emotional podcast episode for me. I say unexpectedly just because I didn't think that through, but this is obviously something that I think as a female, I don't think me and you are alone in this. I don't think that we're even maybe as unique as we think,
right.
In that the role we have trying to figure out what that means, how we've seen it done before, and the pressure we put on ourselves. Also being both of us very religious, which can also, if we're not careful, lead into other ways of thinking that aren't even necessarily like doctrinally true, but maybe it's what someone told us our religion means, right, or whatever it is. There is so much here that I think women are trying to figure out. And so we're starting a women's group, an ICU women's group. If you want to go to icliving.com and get on the wait list for the details are coming out soon about that. But it will be a network of women together that what we are not about is comparison, and we are all about human connection and seeing each other where we're at. And so please sign up if you're interested. Final thoughts, Jessica. How do you feel like the work you've done on yourself now is going to, well, we don't get to choose how we impact our kids, but what's the hope for if you were to tell your daughter anything maybe about what you've learned? What do you want her to understand as she goes through what you've been through, assuming she becomes a mom?
Yeah. I think there's two things that come to my mind. The first thing is I never want my daughter, and I want her to know that the type of mom she is will never be dependent on the amount of sacrificing that she does. It will always be dependent on what her heart is projecting and how much love she can give in a way that is natural instead of this label that you're trying to fill. Another thing that just came to my mind is I would hope that my kids can see the difference of, I've had 2 pregnancies, and I am really grateful that this happened with the first because it has set me forward with my second pregnancy, and I had an amazing experience. I did not have postpartum depression because I saw who I was and I was true to it. And I would hope that what my kids see from that is being a happy mom means you're also happy. Like having a mom that's present means that mom is taking care of herself. Or even to my son, being a dad who's present, it means he's filling his cup as well. It's not just one-sided. And so I would hope my kids see that example, and that will teach them in their own pursuits in life that they're seen. And I want my children to know who they are and where they come from, and to know that that is just as important than anybody else. And I don't want that to come off like, oh, hey, let's put ourselves first. And I think that's the mentality we are constantly like trying to trick ourselves. Or there's like an adversary trying to tell us like, no, that's a horrible mindset.
That's a selfish thing. That's self-absorption, which is super different than basic self-care.
Exactly. And I feel like that's the mindset I constantly get tripped up on. But teaching my kids what that looks like, but also warning them of what the world can tell you, and teaching them how to notice differences in what to listen to and what not to listen to, and how to like read their feelings.
Because it can swing both ways.
It really can.
I just don't think that's the struggle you and I have had as much, and the ways maybe we were raised. But yeah, absolutely. There are people out there that I think personally, like, I don't know their story and I still want to see them be kind, but like, I think their actions if I were to look at them, I'd say that's incredibly selfish for you not to be more, but I feel like you should put your children first, right? Like there are people that make terrible decisions, but the struggle we're talking about is more the other way of the spectrum, which is being a mom. My value is based on how much I personally sacrifice and make sure that these kids come before everything, including my own well-being.
Exactly.
That's what it means to be a good mom. And that is a terrifying prospect to put on women.
It's hard because as much as I hate to admit this, I've actually, like, it breaks my heart to even say this out loud, but my relationship with my mom is not great. My relationship with my mom is actually like in the pits. Like, it's really hard. And I think a lot of that is because I didn't ever get to know who she was outside of my comforter and protector in a way that I didn't need. And so I think I was so grateful for her sacrifices as a kid, but it's really hard to feel connected to her as an adult because once a mom, always a mom, she still feels the need to sacrifice for me. And I want so badly for her to stop sacrificing and look at herself and find connections that will help her gain a self-esteem and to do things that will make her happy. And I feel like once you're caught in this pattern of not knowing who you are, you're constantly trying to find yourself, and it's really hard to connect with somebody who doesn't know who they are. And so I think that's my number one goal as a mom, and my number one goal to teach my kids: know who you are, be true to it, be proud of it, and never let anybody take that away from you.
And because of that, you actually will have more power to see others.
It's true.
Be there for them
Absolutely.
in a really authentic,
vulnerable
way that can be life-changing for people.
Exactly.
Because they can trust you because you're walking the walk, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
I don't know if I've ever cried that much on an episode, so just...
I knew it was coming for me.
I'm like, ooh, okay, what's that about? Yeah, no, it happens, But I think this is a really powerful conversation, especially for us women, that is real deep and has a lot of facets to it and is super healing to talk through and understand and look at and turn on its side and make sense of. And there are times to be angry, they're right to feel all the feels, and also there is a time for joy. And I love that that is a focus that's brought us together. So thanks for being here and sharing your story. Yeah. And everyone else, thanks for being on the ICU podcast today. We will see you next time.